I would like to introduce first Liz Uram. Liz Uram delivers outcome-driven presentations focused on helping leaders get better results through clear communication. She specializes in teaching leaders how to give conflict-free employee feedback that is received as a gift. She started her own training company after 13 years in the financial services industry, where she led teams in operations, customer service, and sales. Her mission is to leave each audience with specific action items they can apply in the real world to make less stressful and more fulfilling, both for leaders and for employees. She speaks at over 100 events per year to audiences ranging from Fortune 500 companies to nonprofits. She's a top-rated speaker for one of the top seminar companies in the country. She's the author of 4 books and has a degree in organizational leadership. When she is not working, she enjoys golfing and gardening. Please welcome Liz Uram.
Every day, leaders just like you wake up with the best intentions of doing what's right for themselves, their teams, and their organizations, only to realize later that their actions had unintentional consequences that led them down the path to poor leadership, resulting in low morale, low productivity, and high turnover. And the worst part is, they don't even know how they got there. They had good intentions. We're going to look at the most common ways good leaders end up on the wrong path. Number 1, being friendly. Number 2, keeping the peace. And number 3, motivation. Now you might be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, I thought those were good things. Usually they are until they're not. Good intention number 1, being friendly. Not everyone is really comfortable sharing a lot about their personal lives, and not everyone is interested in their boss's personal life either. Where they're going on vacation, what they're having for dinner, what they ate for lunch. And as they're walking around telling the team, yeah, I think I'll take off early today and get in a round of golf, the team is secretly thinking to themselves, really? Don't you have any work to do? Because I do. I'm busy. But they smile and nod. Stay on the road to success. It is important to build relationships, but find the right balance between being visible and being intrusive. Have office hours so that you can be available to your team without stealing their time. Good intention number 2 is keeping the peace, otherwise known as avoiding conflict. One of the fastest shortcuts to poor leadership is ignoring poor performance. And some leaders, they just don't know how to deal with it. They're afraid of it. And they avoid it by posting signs, updating the employee handbook, or sending out mass email reminders to people to change behavior, and it doesn't work. Stay on the road to success. Instead of fearing conflict and avoiding those difficult conversations, imagine that feedback can be received as a gift if it's done correctly. Number 3, good intention number 3 is motivation. Everyone needs encouragement and appreciation, but even something simple like that can backfire if it isn't done in the right way, and that can go south as well. Consider the manager who was struggling to motivate her underperforming team. She had tried everything. She didn't know what to do. One day she came up with a brilliant idea. She thought, I'll hang a star chart outside everyone's cube. Did you just have a flashback to kindergarten? If you did, you know exactly how her poor team felt. And yes, they even got the gold star. What was intended as motivation turned into humiliation. It did not work. So stay on the right path. Motivate people in a way that matters to them. For some, it's an award. Some people are happy with a free lunch. Some people just really want a heartfelt thank you. And others say, show me the money. Now, each of those examples was a true story. And who do you think I heard it from? Not the leaders. They were oblivious. They thought they were doing the right things. I heard about it from the people who had been demotivated by those good intentions. So what can you do? Well, first of all, observe. Okay, well, don't be creepy about it, but watch, listen, and learn. What are people saying? What are they talking about? Do you know that people are telling you exactly who they are and what they're interested in all the time if we would just pay attention? Second, plan your conversations. Be thoughtful and intentional, especially with those difficult ones. Think before you speak, but do speak up. It's important to communicate. And when you do, be clear, concise, and nice. Studies show that the number one skill people wish their managers were better at is communication. And that's great news because communication is a skill that can be improved. But leaders, you have to take an active role in your own development. Read a book, get some training, do something. Some leaders are so afraid of doing the wrong thing that they don't do anything. And that's not the right answer either. Learning comes from doing. And hey, when you're learning, you should know you're going to mess up. You're going to do the wrong thing. You're going to put your foot in your mouth. And it's no problem. If you mess up, fess up. Learn from your mistakes, and it's very easy to get back on the right track. So follow the straight and narrow path. Avoid shortcuts and detours that lead down the road to poor leadership, and you'll soon have success for yourself, your team, and your organization.
Okay, thank you. Let's keep going. Steve Boland is the managing partner of Next in Nonprofits. He's a career-long leader in nonprofit and civic organizations, and he's here tonight to remind himself to stop talking so much. Please welcome Steve Boland.
I am fully aware of the irony of applying for the opportunity to talk in front of a group of people to say that I should shut up more. But here I am because I think it's important to decide what leadership means and giving other people the opportunity to step into leadership by giving them some space. But first we have to kind of understand what we mean by leadership, because I think a lot of folks think, well, if you're a natural born leader, you're that person that's going to jump into that space, you're going to take advantage of that, it's going to be great. Not everybody is a born leader. Most leaders, as it were made. I, in particular, started out as a leader in 1976 as a Cub Scout because I was told, kids like you should follow this path. You're a leader. You're going to be the person that will build these skills up. So join this program. Be recognized by this organization in high school. I have got a stack of certificates that tell me that I'm a leader because I was sort of tracked into that from a very young age. There are a lot of people that have a lot more to give, but a lot of folks that are leaders, as it were, the ENTJs, if you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs world, those of us that get called the commander, the field marshal, 4% roughly of the people that could be contributing as leaders fall into this very traditional category of what a leader means. So if we're going to change that, we need to start by changing who is in the room where leadership questions are happening. We need to more effectively reach out and get different folks to come into that space with us and talk about why they can have something different to offer. And difference isn't just that we're going to get a younger version of somebody that's like me. Maybe it's more women in the room. Maybe it's going to be a different group of people that haven't been in this space to have the opportunity to contribute in these leadership discussions. When they get there, I think it's really important that those of us that have been rewarded our whole lives for knowing the right answer don't give it right away. Don't try to step into a space and say, oh, I know, I can do this other thing. Shh. Give the room a little space for somebody else to go, I have an idea. It doesn't mean that we can't still participate and that we don't still have good things to offer, but it can be offering them in different ways. For example, not thinking that just because we're used to getting rewarded for doing things in a specific way, I have an agenda, I know how to work one, I've got a PowerPoint slide, I know how to use it, that those are the only ways to do these things. That rather we could have a celebration of different ways to do them. In Minnesota, we have a fringe festival dedicated to the idea that things that aren't the normal way of doing things are great ways of doing things sometimes. But leaders don't often get rewarded for that. So we need to get people to have the opportunity to say, you're bringing forth a different idea on how we can proceed with this, and that's fantastic. We don't know if it's the right one, where it's going to go, how it's going to work, but we want to thank you for challenging the paradigm, for coming up and doing something else. How do we engage those folks that haven't traditionally been given the pat on the head just because they were doing it the way it was expected to be done, but rather we really value people stepping into leadership roles, even if it's uncomfortable or new. So if we're going to challenge what a leader really means in these circumstances, we need to help bring those people up. I think it's important for people that have traditionally thought of themselves as leaders to think about how do we provide that space not only by being quiet, but by giving them an opportunity to talk about these ideas when it isn't in front of the room where it happens. I personally like to spend one-on-one coffee time with folks that I think have got real potential, where it's quiet, where they can ask questions, where they can be supported, and somebody tells them you're doing great work. And if it's not just me that's jumping in too early, maybe it's my peers that are always jumping in. And we've got to take an opportunity to say, not every time that you're used to jumping in should you jump in. It's so much easier for me to say that. I have to acknowledge my own privilege in this space. I have to be able to say, yeah, I've been rewarded for being this way my whole life. Let me come in and say, why don't you slow down and let somebody else in the room? Let somebody else have that chance to say something, to have successful stuff. And when they've done it, and they've felt thanked and they've felt rewarded, I think we really need to kind of rise up their work more publicly. And not just say, we had our leadership retreat, we came up with a decision, here's what the decision is, but rather, these folks do things differently. We're holding up somebody else's work that isn't ours, that wasn't mine, but it's really good stuff. And we should have an opportunity to give them that chance to be a successful leader by being recognized by the old guard, by those of us that used to be that way. So if you ask a question in a room with some different people in it, give it 7 seconds. That's really kind of uncomfortable, isn't it? But look what can emerge when you give it space. Thanks.
Chou Stanton joined Toastmasters on October 31st, 2016. She's the 2017-2018 Toastmaster of the Year in her club, area, and division. Currently, she's serving as the Area 25 Director of Division C in District 6. She credits her success to her mentor, Keith Hardy, who has helped awaken a love to write and to speak in her during her Toastmasters journey. Tonight, she hopes to spread that love to you as well. Outside of Toastmasters, she has lived and worked in 4 countries, from 3 different continents as a business analyst, a project manager, a mother, a wife, a family member, and a global citizen. She loves spending time with her family, practices Taekwondo, and teaches children Vietnamese at a temple nearby. When possible, she blogs at experienceandperspective.com and reads or listens to good books and podcasts on the topics of mindfulness, systems thinking, and mental health. Please welcome Chou Stanton.
Raise your hand if you don't want a meaningful life or a successful life. You've come to the right place. I like to think that I found the answer. In a book called Maps of Meaning by Jordan B. Peterson, he talks about the divinity of interest. He said, interest is divine because it produces meaning if expressed with passion and courage. Passion for your courage is the top ingredient for success. TED Talks, TED Ed, common sense will tell you that. It is what makes life from boring and scary to fun and miraculous. It is definitely worth living for. I like to think that I have tasted that interest through Toastmasters. After my mentor, Keith Hardy, explained the Toastmaster educational program to me. And it begins with a story. I used to be very easily frustrated. Do you know how it is when you have gazillion of ideas and we only have one mouth to spit all of that out to your children? One day, my son brought home this cup. You're a great mom when you're not yelling. That is not normal. I went for a mental checkup. And if you go for a physical checkup, it is okay to go for a mental checkup. They said, do something. Toastmasters. Writing speeches. Public speaking is terrifying. Speaking here today is terrifying for me. Jordan B. Peterson said, human potential only exists in the face of limitation. And I get to choose. Slow suicide, let your creativity lay dormant forever, Or you could give it all you got. Like these guys. They don't care what they have. They just want a bit of fun. I choose to be like them. I joined Toastmasters. Through Toastmaster meetings, I learned to express myself better. I communicate better. I led better as a parent. Like Toastmaster agenda, we create our own agenda to minimize my frustrations and to cherish my children when they meet the expectations. Works fabulously. Now, they keep them engaged. They evaluate over 20 speeches of mine using the sandwich approach. Good point, not so good point, and always ends up with a good point. I even bring them to TI conference. I become a wonderful mom. Dinner and dessert at a hotel definitely helps. Now, if that haven't inspired you, I'm serving as an area director. My division director, Paula O'Brien, said to me, Chau, you are doing the strong Toastmaster leadership, and it impacts all areas of our lives. It couldn't be more true. In my family, we practice Taekwondo twice a week. To earn our belts, we have to stand up and talk why we earn these stripes. In one of those stand-up talks, one of them did come to me and said, I'm interested in Toastmaster. I got him started, and he is now a member at Speaks After Our Club in Eden Prairie. Do you want to taste that divinity of interest? Are you passionately pursue your interests? Do you share your interests and your passion with your loved ones? Do you want to make life boring and scary, or fun and miraculous? Let your creativity express themselves. Toastmaster is where my creative actions are expressed.
Well, our next speaker's family knows him by one name, the pot stirrer. In his younger days, he was never content to let family members simply watch football and talk about the weather at meals or holiday gatherings. For his entire life, it seems, he's been compelled to foster conversations on the deeper matters of our existence. In fact, he's lucky to exist at all, having nearly died from toxic shock syndrome in 2015. Combine that with the normal issues of middle age, and you've got yourself someone who's pretty darn fixated on purpose and meaning. What is leadership without inspiration? And what is inspiration without purpose and meaning? Our next speaker gets his underwear all in a bunch when leadership theories don't include the place that purpose and meaning come from. Here tonight, to keep stirring the pot, is Dan Neitz with his talk titled, The Heart.
The brain. The brain. Honestly, if I see another article on neuroscience talking about how the brain is the solution to every leadership challenge or otherwise that we have, I think I'm going to puke. There's only one thing in each of us that's present and participates in every single moment of our entire life. And it's not the brain. It's the heart. It's the heart. Now, I know I'm using my brain tonight to deliver this speech, and I know that all of you are using yours as well. But the place that I'm coming from inside of myself and the place that I'm aiming for in each of you, it's the heart. I believe that leadership is about, first and foremost, centering on your own heart in that work. And more important than that, perhaps, is finding the hearts in those that we lead. So I believe that true leadership always includes the heart. As leaders, we have lots to do. And one of the things that we get to do is we get to care for our team. We have to do that. And it's a powerful realization to understand that when you truly care for something that's living, it's going to grow. And so when we look for the hearts in the people that we lead, We're not interested in growing them in opposition to their nature. We're not even tempted by that thought. What we want to do when we're centered on the heart is we want to help people grow in alignment with their nature, with what their vision is for their life, with that sense that they have of what they want their life to be about, because that sense, it resides in their heart. When you lead from the heart and center on it, you tend to think of yourself as a farmer, and you think of the people that you're leading as farmers as well. Essentially, we're all trying to grow something with our lives. And we pay close attention when we're centered on the heart to the dreams of the people that we lead. Because our dreams and theirs, they live in the heart as well. And it's our dreams that teach us. It teaches us the things that we're trying to grow with our lives. And we need to harness that as leaders. So this brain thing again, I know it's popular. And I appreciate the brain, I appreciate its power, and I know it can create a lot of amazing things. But it's the intelligence of the heart that teaches us what's worth creating to begin with. So think about public speaking. We're at this venue tonight. Think about all the great speakers that you've ever seen. What's the place that they're coming from inside of themselves? And where do they lead you inside of yourself? It's the heart. The heart's everywhere. If we think about the format of our speaking tonight, we have slides that are coming up every 15 seconds. That's a heartbeat. We have the heart right here present in the format of our evening. So now, let's think about your hearts. There isn't anybody in this room that doesn't want their life to matter. Not a single one of us. And one of the privileges of being able to lead others is being able to see that the way each of us want our lives to matter is very specific. It's very individual to each of us. We can say that another way. We can say that the thing that each of us is trying to grow with our lives is very specific and unique. And leaders who center on the heart, they're willing to get out in the field with the people they lead to understand what they're trying to grow with their lives, and they're willing to help them do it. So your heart. Let's get back in your heart. How do you want your life to matter? What's the thing that you're trying to grow with your life? We can run at this two different ways. We could take the Stephen Covey approach, begin with the end in mind, do the funeral exercise where we think about when it's all said and done, what's the impact that I want to have having left this world? Or we can simply look for the aliveness that we feel, because when we feel most alive and we see people who are alive, that's the time, that's the moment when the values they want to be about, that they're trying to grow with their life, they're flowing right through them. And we need to look for that carefully. As I start to wrap here, this slide to me captures what it means to follow somebody who leads centered on the heart. Because you will feel something growing in your life, something positive and palpable. You can touch it. And so I just want to invite each of you, think about what you could grow as leaders when you begin with the heart.
Gretchen Blahous, a nurse and chiropractor, is fascinated with how the mind influences our lives and our health. She has a private practice and assists in running a family business. Gretchen uses positivity and humor to help her patients. She's found that being positive doesn't just make you better, it makes everyone around you better. Tonight, she's going to share a story about positivity and some tips on staying positive. Please welcome Gretchen Blahous.
John Gordon's book, The Positive Dog, is a story of two dogs, Matt and Bubba. Matt and Bubba live at a shelter, and they talk. Matt had a rough life before the shelter. He was sad and mad. He would bark when the kids would come and see him in his kennel and scare the families away. As the families were walking away, he would wonder why he had no one to love and no one to love him. During playtime in the yard, he would walk around and tell all the other dogs all of his problems and complain. When he grew tired of complaining, he would lay down by himself, think of all the sad events of his past, and grow more sad and depressed. One day while he was out in the yard, he heard a dog singing a happy country song. Bubba loved country music, positive psychology, movies with happy endings, and most of all, helping the hopeless find hope. Bubba came to the shelter after a house fire. He vowed that if he got out of that fire alive, he would help anyone and everyone that he could, including Matt. Matt started in on Bubba about all of his problems, one bigger than the last. But Bubba stopped him. Matt, our kennels are across from each other. I know what your problem is. You're blinded by the negativity. You see, we each have two dogs inside of us. One is happy, positive, optimistic, and fluffy and cuddly, if I can say myself. And the other dog's the opposite. That dog is negative, pessimistic, fearful. Both of these dogs are inside of us, and these dogs are fighting. Which of these dogs wins the fight? The dog that wins the fight inside of you, that's the dog that you feed the most, will win. The simple truth is, and why? Why do we have to be positive? I'm going to tell you that. Being positive is not just a good way to live, it's the best way to live because it improves your health, improves your happiness, it makes you live longer, it builds better relationships. And who makes you a better leader? And that's why we're all here tonight, is to be a better leader and a greater success. Perhaps you're more motivated by the negative. Well, negativity increases your risk of heart attack and stroke. Negativity weakens your immune system and zaps you of all your energy. Nobody wants to be around somebody that's negative, especially your teams and the people that you're a leader of. The simple truth is, Matt realized, is that nobody wants to be around me because I'm negative. That's why I'm not adopted. Is it hard to be positive? Is it hard to feed your positive dog? Can I feed my positive dog? Well, you have to feed your positive dog every day with daily actions. We can mold our brains and affect them by feeding them positivity every day. One way that you can do that, and I encourage every one of you to do, is to every day is to take a thank you walk. Matt and Bubba would do that around their yard. They would walk and think of all the things that they were positive about, small things and big things. You can do these things at home, in your neighborhood, outside, in the office. By combining physical exercise with positive emotions, you flood your brain and your body with positive emotions, natural antidepressants that uplift you, rather than the stress hormones that bring you down and make you negative. Well, I'm sure you're probably all wondering what happened to Matt and Bubba. Well, Matt became more positive. He attracted a beautiful family and was adopted. Bubba, his owner, was released from the hospital. They were reunited, and they all live in the same neighborhood at the dog park. Go ahead, feed your positive dog. Being positive is not just good for you, it makes everyone around you better.
Linda Rhuland, MBA, is a speaker and business strategist who has devoted her career to helping entrepreneurs and their organizations navigate change in order to achieve greater success. In this presentation, she discusses how our knowledge-based creative economy has forever changed the way organizations are run. She identifies tenets and tools that enduring organizations leverage for long-term survival and success. Borrowing from insights from her research, collaborators, and global leaders, including Virgin, Apple, and Pixar, Linda will take you on an adventure that defines what creative companies do differently to inspire success, how the life of your organization depends on these differences, how you can light a fire in the heart of your organization, how you can inspire creative leadership, and how you can keep the fire burning through reinvention and renewal. Please welcome Linda Rhuland.
My friend and co-author, Jane Sanders, is a purpose coach. She says that if you avoid living on purpose long enough, life will turn around and hit you with a cosmic 2x4. I know exactly what she means. One day, 10 years ago, on the way to work, I made up my mind I was going to love that job and stick with it no matter what, no matter how I really felt. And then, bam, a triple somersault into the ditch changed my mind. I quit. Looking for a new job was tough. The economy was tough. One day I decided to take a day off and do some soul searching instead. I came across a call for entries. It was at the conference on the creative economy in Helsinki. The leaders of this group were looking for papers from people in business, medicine, government, education, to find out just what is this creative economy. I threw my hat in the ring. I submitted my abstract, and to my astonishment, I was accepted, which, among other things, led to this book. At the conference, we were invited to share our stories, our creative pursuits, and to talk about how we created together and adapted to change. One of my biggest takeaways was the fact that in creating, what you do primarily is you ask questions. And in asking questions, you actually find the ways to solve the right problems. In business, as in art, a picture creates 1,000 words. Here are two pictures of a product business life cycle representing then and now. Two things to consider. First, in early development, revenues are slim to none. After peak performance, they are certain to decline. Change is speeding up. How are we adapting to it? How are we bridging the gap between performance cycles? How are we engaging ourselves creatively? Jim Collins, author of Good to Great, says that great leaders and their businesses put culture in front of everything. They engage productively in an innovative culture. Hence, these epic organizations make things happen. As leaders, we create conditions that inspire success, which means we create these conditions through trial, error, and the crucible of change. In order to condition ourselves creatively, we have to pay attention to the 5 facets of epic success: self-care and confidence, innovative culture, inspired leadership, collaborative teamwork, and being opportunistic in change. You can have great talent in the room, but unless you recognize it and allow it to flourish, it cannot serve you. Leaders have to hire self-assured people who are willing to accept responsibility for their personal and professional development. They need innovative cultures in which they create amazing workplaces for people to interact freely, confidently, and with candor. My co-author, Ed Bogle, says that when people feel part of their vision, mission, and brand promise, something special happens. They engage in what he calls discretionary effort. Great leaders, inspired leaders, turn human performance into an art. They encourage discretionary effort because they develop people with a strong sense of self-perception so that they can accept criticism and grow from it. Innovative leaders, an innovative workplace involves problems. Collaborative teams co-create. They solve problems together. How do you keep the fire going? Being opportunistic in change means that you see change as an opportunity versus a challenge. In Helsinki, we were invited to become architects of the future instead of its victims. These 5 facets of epic success are the framework for continued growth and renewal. You need to know them, practice them, and own them, because someday, for certain, when change stares you in the face, instead of avoiding it, resisting it, or dreading it, you can embrace it. You can say to yourself and everyone else, bring it on.
Our next speaker started out many years ago as an engineer with an awkward communication skills. She was so shy, she would duck into the restroom to avoid talking with people. Now she follows people into the restroom just to talk to them. Just the women. She is a professional speaker, a presentation coach, and the author of several books on communication topics. She credits her involvement with Toastmasters in helping her develop her communication and leadership skills. But before Toastmasters, way before Toastmasters, another person played a crucial role in the development of her concept of what a leader is and does. Tonight, she will share the story of how her grandmother had a significant impact on her concept of a leader in her talk, Champion the Underdog. Please welcome Diane Windingland.
Leaders stand up for those with less privilege. Stand up for those with less power. Stand up against injustice. Standing up for others, being a champion of the underdog is a lesson I learned from my grandmother. My grandmother, my Italian Nana, was a simple, hardworking woman. She grew up living above the family grocery store in Pueblo, Colorado. And when she got married, she just moved down the street. As a child, I loved visiting my Nana. Her home smelled of spaghetti sauce, Italian sausage, and old furniture. I especially loved visiting at Christmas time. It was Christmas 1968. I was 6 years old, and we drove all the way from Grand Forks, North Dakota to Pueblo, Colorado, with me harassing my father every hour. Are we there yet? When we finally arrived just in time for the family Christmas party, my mother's side of the family, all good Italian Catholics with lots and lots of children, Santa was there. I still believed in Santa Claus. Santa was handing out gifts to the children, calling their names one by one. And as he held up the last gift, my gift, I couldn't wait to hear him call out, "Diane Williams!" Oh, I hoped it would be a Barbie doll. I wanted a Barbie doll more than anything in the world. All of my cousins had Barbie dolls, and I dreamed of ripping open that package and pulling out my Barbie. With a hearty ho, 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 Santa called out, "Teresa, coffee!" What? Not me? No Barbie? No gift at all? I felt like I'd been sucker punched. Has that ever happened to you? Has someone else gotten something you deserved? Or maybe you've just seen it happen to someone else. Did you remain a passive bystander? Or did you help out the little guy? That day, my grandmother showed me how to be a leader by standing up for me, by being a champion of the underdog. As soon as I recovered from the shock of not getting a gift, big tears welled up in my eyes, and I looked up at my Nana. "Nana, Santa forgot me." And she scooped me up in those strong, fleshy arms that rolled out ravioli every morning at 5 a.m. for an Italian restaurant where she worked until she was 83. She whispered, "Oh no, Santa did not forget you." And she passed me off to my parents, and I saw her approach her younger brothers, my great uncles, with a sad, determined look in her eye, and then she sent them off to work the crowd. A few minutes later, a sheepish-looking Santa approached me. "Little Diane Williams, I'm so sorry. Your gift was stuck at the bottom of my bag." He reached in and with a flourish pulled out a wad of bills. $50! Yes. A small fortune to a 6-year-old in 1968. The tears vanished. Grandma was grinning like the Cheshire Cat, and I had a bigger dream. One Barbie. I could buy hundreds! Yes, I did learn many important things from my Nana that day, and the biggest lesson was that it pays to have mafia connections. Influential people can be helpful, especially when they are leaders that champion the underdog. Many years later, at my grandmother's funeral, the pews were packed, and person after person stood up to speak. They spoke of how she had helped them when they were down and out, when they were the underdog. Now, my grandmother was old, overweight, not that educated, and poor. She was not a wealthy woman, but she was a wise woman. She was loved, and she was a champion of the underdog. Leave a leadership legacy. Stand up for those with less privilege. Stand up for those with less power. Stand up against injustice, and be like my grandmother, a champion of the underdog.
Jill Johnson, president and founder of Johnson Consulting Services, is an award-winning management consultant who has personally impacted more than $4 billion worth of business decisions. Her clients are located throughout the United States, as well as in Europe and Asia. Jill is a 2-time Business Hall of Fame inductee and won numerous other honors for her business acumen, leadership savvy, mentoring impact, entrepreneurial success, and her writing. She has been quoted in national media, including the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Money Magazine, Inc., and Success. Her articles have been published in over 70 magazines, and Jill has appeared as a thought leader on radio and television as well. She has been a member of the boards of directors and executive committees of various business, professional, and foundation boards. Jill has also served on 2 federal boards under 3 different United States presidents representing both political parties. Please welcome Jill Johnson.
When I was 3 years old, I won a pony. The meanest Shetland pony God ever created. But that pony was mine, and I won him because I bolted away from my mother and trusted my own judgment to go forward to find the golden egg. But I didn't find it because I was standing there wishing for it to happen. I found it because I had a goal in mind, and I acted. I took responsibility, and I moved myself forward despite my fear. Now, for those of you that are aspiring to leadership, as we all do, it takes more than wishing to be a leader. It takes a skill called confidence. Confident leaders are the ones who make the leap. They don't dream about it. They don't wishcraft for it. What people who achieve leadership success are capable of doing is figuring out the plan to make their success a reality. They look forward to the actions that they need to take to refine their finesse so that they develop beautiful mastery of the various complex skills associated with being a leader. And as they do that, they build so much more confidence. But you start where you are. And no, that is not me. But it could be. And the thing is we all start somewhere. I'm a blue-collar kid from a family with not much, and to be able to go from the arc of that to something more required strategy, and it required developing a plan that I took responsibility for creating myself and for making it happen. And when you look at the arc of the career that you want for yourself, think about what is it. Those of you that have joined Toastmasters, you're working on your leadership skill. You're working on your speaking skill. You're building confidence day by day. It's become an essential part of how you invest the time you have in your day to creating the future that you want for yourself. That's personal responsibility. That's taking those actions. And for most of us, we're so confused on any given day. We hit the wall. I don't know what to do. Trust me, on any given day, you'll find me in the fetal position. But I get back up, and I dust myself off, and then I find someone who can help give me clarity. You need people in your life, coaches and mentors, who will tell you the honest truth. Yes, your butt does look fat in those pants. But what are your tools? What are the tools in your toolkit? You have an array of books here tonight. You have speakers that you've learned from, videotapes. There are resources on the internet. There are other people that you can talk with. Those are all part of your tools. But you're always going to have critics. Trust me, there are going to be people who try to sabotage your ability to be success because they don't want you to succeed or do better than they did. But you have to find what you want deep in yourself so that you don't listen to those voices. Listen to the voices that stretch you, that pull you up. Have confidence cards that are little gentle reminders to yourself. I can. Why not me? So that as you gamble on the future for your career, it's a gamble that you can control. It's not something that you just throw the dice to the arena and say, I hope that I get a pair of aces or double sixes. You want to look at how it is you develop your mastery. And once you get mastery and you build that level of confidence through that confidence plan, then you can add your own little flair, the little part of you that is that. But what are you building a foundation on? Remember, you start where you are. That's your current foundation. And then as you work over time, you're going to be building and progressing so that you can move forward. I want you, when you go home tonight, to think about the 3 steps that you're going to take in the next 6 months that will help you build your confidence, that will help you move yourself forward on your career. What is it you're going to do? Because I'm a firm believer, as that little girl, little Jill Johnson from Hudson, Wisconsin, confidence compounds with intention, with commitment, with practice, with passion. And if you do that, I promise you, everybody in this room, you will have a chance with your confidence plan to find your own Shetland pony. And I hope he's a lot nicer than the one that I grew up with.
Leadership is not a title or status. Leadership is a journey. It is about deep growth and development. Many people confuse management with leadership. Management is many times the first rung on the ladder of being a leader. During this presentation, Meg Johnson will discuss the levels of leadership, continued growth, and advanced skills you will see if you push yourself to learn, challenge yourself, become about more than the tasks, and become about people. In addition, Meg will share what each of these levels of ladders will do. We'll share what each of these levels of leaders will contribute to your organization or to your club. Do you know where you are now? And are you ready to challenge yourself to reach the pinnacle? Please welcome Meg Johnson.
Leadership. We've heard a lot about leadership tonight, and we're going to hear a little bit more. So what is leadership? Leadership is that ability to influence others for a common purpose. So let's talk about leadership. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about John Maxwell's theories. So what is it? And how do you get it? Is it something that you catch? Or is it something that you learn? So many leaders we heard earlier tonight are natural born leaders. Other people, we observe it over time and we pick up on things. Other people study it, and other people are just committed to get there. There are several levels in John's theory. One is level 1, which is basically you get the job, you get the title, I'm a boss. Level 2 is when you really start to understand people and you develop those relationships. Level 3 is when you hit your groove and you're really producing. Level 4 is when you really start to mentor other people. And level 5 is that pinnacle. So level 1, You are influenced by your title. That's when the nurse or the laboratorian or the salesman gets that first job. I'm the boss. I'm in charge of you. I can tell you what to do. Level 2 is when you get that permission. And so now you're developing relationships. Sometimes the challenge with that is that we want everybody to like us, and so we have a hard time setting some boundaries. But it is based on relationships. Level 3 is when we really understand our work unit and we really start to produce. We know what we need. We know how to make people hum. We really know how to make things happen. So we really have efficiency in our work unit. Level 4 is when we start to realize, I can't keep all of you forever in my work unit. Some of you have a desire to become leaders yourselves, and maybe I need to develop you and make you into leaders. So you start to empower others to grow. And level 5, very few of us ever reach this. This is truly where you become respected not only for what you know, but for who you are and what you represent. That's the dream, I think, for most leaders to get there. So what does all this mean? What does all this mean for us as leaders? Where do we start to mentor our people? And what do we want to do as leaders when we see our staff starting to get nervous, get anxious, especially in our level 3? Let's talk a little bit more about each of these levels and what do they bring to our organization and what can we do to improve the efficiency of our organization and also to mentor our staff and coach our staff. So we'll start with level 1. As we said, that's about the title. People are learning rules at this point. They're focused on managing the details, and they're working. They have minimal influence. So these people really need strong coaches, strong mentors to help them get out of that place. At level 2, they have a desire to build relationships, but we don't want them to stagnate at that point. We want them to learn to set boundaries. We want them to get a higher bird's eye view, not just look at that one particular thing and be too nice. It's good to be nice, but not too nice. Level 3 is where a lot of leaders sit because they're outstanding producers. They do a great job at managing their unit day to day, but they don't want to let go of their staff because they are good producers, so they don't want to develop anybody. They don't want to let anybody go. And their managers like them because they produce well, so the people above them want them to stay where they are as well. So that's the challenge with them, and that's when they really need that mentoring and pushing so that they learn to teach others and mentor others. Level 4, this is where they really have learned how to develop other people. They've come into their own, they're investing on other leaders, they're becoming a mentor for many other people, and they truly are probably more your senior leadership folks. And these people know how to teach, they know how to mentor. They are no longer just promoting themselves. They want to step back out of the limelight, and they want others to be in the limelight. They're preparing that next generation. And level 5, like I said, is pretty rare. Those are the people that are consultants. They're sought out by other organizations. You know these people, when they walk in the room, everybody just kind of goes, oh, I want to talk to him. I want to talk to her. So what I want you to think about over the next day or two is, where are you on that level, on those levels? Where is your current development? And what are you doing about it? And where do you want to go? Do you want to move up to that next level of leadership? And do you have a plan for that? As was mentioned earlier, are you reading? Are you going to workshops? Are you going to seminars? Do you have a coach? Because it's up to you to develop yourself and your staff. Thank you.
Vasa Sahin is lead scientist at the 3M company, where he develops new technologies and products. Fortune magazine featured him as having the coolest job in the Fortune 500 companies. He hails from New Delhi, India. He received his undergraduate education at IIT Delhi, India, and his PhD at the University of Akron, Ohio. Because of his research with spiders, he's referred to as Spider-Man by his colleagues, but he's not developed the ability to climb walls yet. His interests include mentoring young scientists, Toastmasters, playing volleyball, watching scary movies, trying to make things rhyme, dancing, and acting. He has performed in many cultural events in both India and the US, and is performing in 3 different shows in 2018. He joined Toastmasters in May of 2016. Please welcome Vasa Sahin.
I'm 6'1", 160 pounds. I have a PhD in polymer science, and I'm scared of dogs. Every morning that I take the elevator down to the garage, I'm scared that a dog will jump out of the elevator and attack me. You may find that strange because apparently a dog is a man's best friend. But what you may find stranger is that I consider spiders my best friends. In fact, I've spent the last 11 years of my life working with big, living spiders. So why this discrepancy? Why am I scared of your best friends? And I know a lot of you are scared of my best friends. To address this phenomenon, I will share with you a 3-step process that will not only address this phenomenon, but also help you manage your fears. I will use 2 fears as examples. One is my fear of dogs. The second is a fear that all of us have had at some point in this room, glossophobia, fear of public speaking. Step 1, figure out if your fear is irrational. Us human beings are terrible at assessing risks. We are most scared of things that are least likely to happen to us and vice versa. A dog has actually never jumped out of an elevator to attack me. And even if it did, all the dogs in my building are vaccinated, so it doesn't matter. I'll be okay regardless. So my fear of dogs is completely irrational. Same thing with glossophobia. The fear is that I, the speaker, will be ridiculed by you, the audience. So let's look at what you, the audience, is doing right now while I, the speaker, am talking. Some of you are thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. Some of you are thinking about the latest episodes of your favorite show on Netflix. And some of you are probably listening intently to me and hoping to learn something. If you are ridiculing me, that means you came here on a weekday, spent $10 to ridicule me, in which case I'm going to judge you because you have no life. You have nothing better to do. So glossophobia is completely irrational. So let's look at step number 2. If your fear is irrational, figure out what are the pros and cons of your fear. Now you're going to ask me, what are the cons of being scared of dogs? I will tell you, it's very simple. I'm 6'1", 160 pounds. I have a PhD in polymer science, and I'm still single. You know why that is? Because ladies love dogs. 99.97% of ladies between the ages of 21 and 30 said they love dogs. Ladies love dogs. Okay, I just made up that number, but you get my point. If I ever hope to find a partner, I need to manage my fear of dogs. Same thing with glossophobia. Because we are scared of speaking in public, we let go of several opportunities to inform, to educate, to motivate, and inspire a lot of people, thus severely limiting the contribution that we can make to the society. Do you think America would be the same today if Dr. Martin Luther King in 1963 said, I have a dream, but I'm too scared to share it? No. The pros of overcoming glossophobia are tremendous, which brings me to the third point. If your fear is irrational, if the pros are tremendous, like what you have just figured out, then you need to train your brain to overcome that fear. Now, fear resides in a completely different part of the brain than logic does. This is what I'm preaching to you today, is logic. And someone said initially that if I'm going to talk about brain and logic, they're going to throw up. So I'm hoping they're not doing that right now. But we need to train the logical part of the brain to overpower the emotional part of the brain. And the way to do that is just like going to a gym, just like weightlifting. You train well and you train often. You keep on reminding yourself that fear is irrational, the pros are tremendous. And over time, you will train your brain and the logical part of your brain to overcome the emotional part of the brain. So put it in your bedroom, put it in your bathroom, listen to it while you're running, while you're driving, and over time, you will have managed your fears. Now, if you have any doubts that this 3-step process works or not, I'm going to squash it right in this next slide, whenever that shows up. I came very close to a dog. I kneeled. I took the phone from my pocket, and I took a selfie a few months ago. No beard. I seem fairly happy. The dog is kind of confused. I'm going to get better, and I will find a partner at some point too. So let me leave you with this last question. What are you scared of? Over to you.
Annie is an inspirational keynote speaker, an award-winning author, and certified coach. After 9 years climbing the ladder in corporate America, she became a serial entrepreneur, buying one gym, building another, starting a speaking business, leading an Advocare supplement team, writing one book, and then writing another. She now has 4 books and 3 workbooks. She has been on TV a few times, including The Oprah Show when she was a young adult. Her favorite work is to inspire audiences to action, to be motivated to leave the room ready to make changes and live a more exceptional life and break the cycles and stories that no longer serve them. She started speaking in the faith community, then in wellness, and today is an international speaker to corporations. She's also the president of NSA Minnesota. Annie is a wife and a mother of 3 adult children. She lives in the southern suburbs of Minneapolis. Please welcome Annie Meehan.
Thank you so much. In front of all of you, you should have this card. If you find something you loved or you learned or you were reminded of, if you would fill that out, I'll give away a couple of books at the end of this. But I feel so honored tonight to be here to close out this special presentation about leadership. Because what I believe, what I know, is that all of us are leaders and influencers. And we do that in many different ways. We do that professionally and we do that personally in our lives, in our homes, and in our communities. And tonight, what I want to speak to you about is something that I believe to be powerful and yet so simple, to kind of build on what everyone else said, but to leave you thinking about this. As I observed the room from the back, I noticed some of you were a little fruity. Now, I hope you don't take that wrong because I think fruity people are fantastic. But you're all a little bit fruity, and I hope when you walk out of here, you will hold your head high saying, I'm just a little bit fruity. You see, a little over a year ago, a girlfriend of mine was visiting from Chicago, and she called me and she said, Annie, you got to get to this store right away. I came to the store, and there was a bright orange skirt covered with pineapples. I said, what's that about? I said, I know my colors are orange and blue, but why the pineapples? Oh, you're such a pineapple. I'm like, I'm a pineapple? She said, oh yeah, you're such a pineapple. Now she's a preschool teacher. And do any of you know the pineapple poem? It goes like this: stand up tall, wear a crown, and be sweet on the inside. Isn't that cute? I mean, it's kind of cute, but I'm not really a cute speaker. I think cute only takes you so far. And what I know about all people is we have a story, and then we have a story behind that story. And if we're honest, most, if not all of us, have a third story, the secret one, the one we keep to ourselves. We're afraid that if people find out, they might not like us. And I think everything in life is like that. Dig into it. What am I missing about this poem? So I started to think about the poem. What does it actually mean? Well, see, if we stood up tall in a world where most of us are looking down or looking forward at what's next, we'd actually see people. And if we looked at people in the eye, well, I believe that's the highest compliment you can give another person, is to actually see them, to look at them in the eye, speak their name, and listen to their story. But isn't it more than that? You know, what about the crown? If we wore a crown, we would know that we were valuable, and so was everyone else around us. And if I thought I was valuable, I would take better care of myself. I would go to the gym whether I felt like it or not, because I would know that I was worth it. And if I thought I was valuable and I thought you were too, wouldn't I treat you differently? And you see, if we were sweet on the inside, what would come out of our mouths and through our keyboards, in particular onto social media, would be kindness and encouragement. About a year and a half ago, I had the opportunity to speak in St. Cloud. And as I was there, I went into the women's bathroom. And for you guys that don't know, we often get an extra mirror. We get one to fix our makeup and hair, and then we have the one in front of the sink. And there was a woman there, she was fixing her hair. Well, actually, what she was doing was she was putting on a wig. I was hurrying to get to the bathroom, so I ran in. But then I came back out, and after I washed my hands, I went over to her. I looked at her, and I touched her. I said, tell me your story. Now, if I'm honest, because we do all judge whether we think we do or not, I could have already guessed what her story was. And if you don't think you're judgmental, think about how you talk about other people. Is it with statements or questions? You see, judgment comes in the form of a statement, but wonder always shows up in the form of a question. But I asked her what she did for a living. I had already decided. But she said, I'm an exotic dancer. Why are you talking to me? I said, well, I don't know, I saw you. And I just wanted you to know that I noticed. We talked for a little bit more and she asked me, what do you do? I said, oh, I'm on a stage too, but a little bit different. In fact, I'm speaking to educators down the hall. She said, may I come join you? And I said, I'll go ask. And I came back and invited her in. You see, at the end of that day, she said to me, I'm a 36-year-old woman. You're the first person that's ever looked at me without judgment. The value of seeing another person can change a life. She told me she had 52 counts against her. She had been in hiding. That day, she would turn herself in. What I believe is that if we treat other people like pineapples, sometimes we're rough on the outside, but on the inside, we're all sweet. If you would all rise quickly and join me in the pineapple principle as you leave this room. Be a pineapple. Be a pineapple. Stand up straight. Stand up straight. Wear a crown. Wear a crown. And be sweet on the inside. Be sweet on the inside. I hope when you leave this room today, you will not ever be offended again if someone tells you you're fruity. I hope when someone comes at you negative and stressed out, you will be reminded that even though they act rough on the outside, they are sweet in the inside.
Also, at this time, I would like to invite Ben Smith, who is the director of the...
He's a district director.
District director of District 106 and responsible for helping make this thing happen tonight. Ben?
Thanks, Jason.
My pleasure.
And again, please, another round of applause as the speakers take their seats. Thank you, everyone. Allow me to create a circle. Tonight, we heard about inspiring and motivating people. We heard about listening and growing leaders. We heard about passion. We heard about something about your heart. For some reason, I can't read my own handwriting. I hate it when that happens. But leading with your heart. We heard about feed your positive dog and take a thank you walk. We heard about asking questions and creating culture. We heard about champion the underdog, take action and build confidence, influence leadership, and managing and overcoming fear. We also heard about see people, hear people, and be kind. Now allow me to take that full circle. Over half of the people that you heard tonight speak were Toastmasters. I'm the district director for District 106 Toastmasters, a district of Toastmasters International. We are a worldwide organization that has clubs all over the world. And tonight, how many have heard of Toastmasters before I just went into my little spiel? Good, most of the room? Awesome. But tonight we heard about overcoming fear, building confidence, and influencing people in leading. Those are all things that we do in Toastmasters. So if you are interested in building confidence, if you're interested in listening and building those listening skills to listen to people, if you're interested in becoming an influential leader, I encourage you to go to Toastmasters.org, find out more information about Toastmasters, and click on the Find a Club button and find a club near you. Also, we're going to have more of these Powered by District 106 events. So if you enjoyed this event tonight, tell other people about it. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies, bring them all, I don't care. They're not all going to be this Ignite style. The next one we're looking at is going to be an improv night where we all get to work on improv skills and play improv games and speak off the top of our heads. So that I'm looking forward to that one as well. If you'd like more information on that event or more upcoming Powered by District 106 events, go to d106tm.org and click on the info button and look at the PxD106 button, and then that'll tell you more about those events that are upcoming. Now, I'd be remiss if I, as the leader, did not recognize those who made this event possible. So if you had a hand at all in making this event possible tonight, please stand up while we applaud. If I have to call people out, I will. Josh, stand up. Gretchen, all the speakers, Crystal, Diane, Everyone, thank you for making this event possible. I appreciate it. All the speakers you could stand to, but that's fine. Thank you for making this event possible tonight. We look forward to seeing you at other Powered by District 106 events, and have a great evening.